Hi, this is Carlos Cousins, and the following letter analysis question is a bit complicated here. They're asking about a quote from the passage, giving a line number, so it's very nice. It's lines 37 to 38. So you want to read a sentence before and after and try to contextualize that. But then they're asking for you to make an inference from that and to evaluate different inferences in the answer choices where one or more of them could be correct. So very time consuming. You probably want to wait a little bit until you get a better feeling for the passage as a whole before you do one like this. But let's try doing this together. So let's go ahead and read a little bit before line 37 here. It looks like that's going to begin at line, the previous sentence is at line 32. And my love, my desire were in the dragonfly. For some reason, I thought that if it settled there on that leaf, the broad one with the red flower in the middle of it, if the dragonfly settled on the leaf, she would say yes at once. So this is Lily agreeing to marry him. But the dragonfly went round and round, it never settled anywhere. And then he interjects here. Of course not. Happily not. Or I shouldn't be walking here with Eleanor and the children. Tell me, Eleanor, do you ever think of the past? So a lot of things happened here. He's thinking of Lily, about how much he wanted her to marry him, how anxious he was to hear his response. He really, really hoped for her to say yes. And then he stops himself short here and says, of course she didn't say yes. Then he stops himself a little bit more again. Okay, good thing she said no. Good thing, because otherwise I wouldn't be here with Eleanor and the children. But think a little bit about this. Is he really happy to be with Eleanor? We've got a situation where he's walking ahead of Eleanor, not really thinking about her. She's got the wife and the kids behind him, while he thinks about his what could have been in the past when he was younger. So maybe he's not really enjoying the present right now. Maybe he's not really happy there walking with Eleanor and the children. And instead of sort of talking about the present with Eleanor when he talks to her, he says, "Do you ever think of the past?" And immediately afterwards, actually, it just flat out tells her, I've been thinking about another woman I could be with, potentially right now. So a lot of things going on here. Let's go ahead and consider these. The man believes the dragonfly is an omen, which predicted many years ago how happy he would be by Eleanor's side. Well, the problem with omen is we start thinking here about some sort of like magical sort of like sign of what would happen in the future. And I don't think it even was that way in the past here. When we're introducing the dragonfly, we're saying, he says, for some reason. Well, where is this? For some reason, yep, I thought that if it settled on there on that leaf, the broad one with the red flower in the middle of it, if the dragonfly settled on the leaf, she would say yes at once. So we're not attributing any like realistic sort of predictive power to it. And then on top of it all, we're talking about the decision for Lily to say yes to his marriage. We're not talking about him being happy with Eleanor now. The dragonfly had nothing to do with that in this passage. So that one is definitely not one that we're going to consider as the right answer. So then that immediately cancels out answer choices A and C because those both include 1. Let's consider number 2. The man rejoices that his destiny was always to be with Eleanor and not with Lily, who has rejected him. Well, this is possible. He says, happily not here, right? He says, of course not. Of course she didn't end up with me. Happily not, or I wouldn't be here with Eleanor and the children. But in this context, it's a bit difficult. Look, we're left here with answer choices B or D. So it's either 2 or 3. This looks good. Let's go ahead and consider D and see if it's better. The man attempts to convince himself that his life is better with Eleanor than it would have been with Lily, but is only somewhat successful. So is he really successful in convincing himself that he's very happy with Eleanor? Or is he only somewhat successful in convincing himself that he's very happy with Eleanor? Given how excited he remembers being to marry Lily, the fact that he's reliving that entire thing, that he's leaving his family behind him to think about the past here for a little bit, and then continues to want to talk about the past, about another woman to his wife who is presently there with him, it seems that he's somewhat successful, happy to be with Eleanor, but not enough to rejoice, as it says here. Rejoices that his destiny was always to be with Eleanor. It looks like it could have been with Lily, and he's considering what his life would be now. So for that reason, even though this looks very appealing, number 2 is not as good. It would not be the best answer choice here. So we can cross that one out as well, and that leaves us then with answer choice D. I hope that helped with this question. It was really tough. Happy prepping.